I stood there in our sleek, modern kitchen, staring at the charred mess that used to be my passport. The acrid smell of burnt plastic stung my nose as the last wisps of smoke curled up from the marble island. The blue cover was now a blackened, shriveled husk, its edges crumbling like ash. My wife, Brielle, sat just a few feet away, casually sipping her green smoothie, her manicured fingers scrolling through her phone as if she hadn't just set fire to my identity. She didn't even look up when she spoke, her voice dripping with that smug tone I'd grown to hate. "You don't need it," she said, smirking like it was some clever joke. "Stay home and take care of the kids. That's what poor husbands do. I'm going to relax." Relax. That's what she called it. She was jetting off to Santorini tomorrow with Noah, her lover. She thought I didn't know. She thought I was too dumb, too buried in my work, to notice the late-night texts, the girls' trips, the way she'd started dressing up for errands. But I knew. I'd known for months. What she didn't know, what I hadn't told a soul yet, was that I just signed the deal of my life. My startup, the little project I'd poured 15 years into, had sold to an international conglomerate for $2 billion. Billion, with a capital B. Cash in my pocket, freedom in my hands, and she had no clue. I'd kept it quiet, even from her, because I wanted to surprise her with a new life. Maybe that villa in Italy we talked about years ago, back when she still looked at me like I mattered. But now I saw the truth. She didn't deserve the surprise. She didn't deserve me. I didn't say a word as she finished her smoothie and sauntered upstairs, humming like she'd won some grand victory. I waited until the house was still, the kids tucked into their beds, their soft breathing filling the silence. Then I moved. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, stuffed it with clothes, my laptop, a few essentials. I opened the safe in my office, the one she didn't know the code to, and pulled out stacks of cash, some documents, a spare key fob for the car I'd bought last year and never told her about. I didn't need much. I wasn't running away in a panic. This was calculated. This was me taking back control. Before I left, I walked back to the kitchen. The passport's ashes were still there, a dark smear on the marble. I grabbed a pen and a notepad from the drawer, scribbled a quick message. "You're right. I'll stay home. Enjoy your trip." I left it next to the ashes, knowing she'd see it in the morning. She'd think it was surrender. She'd laugh, maybe text Noah about how pathetic I was. Let her. I locked the door behind me, got into my car, a black SUV she'd never cared to notice, and drove into the night. The city lights blurred past me as I headed downtown, my mind racing but calm. I wasn't the broken man she thought she'd left behind. I was something else now, something she'd never see coming. The penthouse suite I checked into was a world away from our suburban mansion, glass walls, a view of the skyline, silence that felt like power. I dropped my bag, poured a glass of whiskey from the minibar, and sat on the leather couch, staring out at the city. My phone buzzed. Brielle, probably, but I didn't check. Not yet. I needed this moment to breathe, to feel the weight of what I'd done. $2 billion. A burned passport. A wife who thought she'd outsmarted me. The kids were safe with the nanny for now. I'd figure that out tomorrow. Tonight was about me reclaiming my life. I leaned back, sipping the whiskey, letting the burn in my throat match the fire in my chest. She thought she'd trapped me, grounded me, turned me into her little stay-at-home puppet while she danced off with her lover. But she'd misjudged me. Badly. I wasn't staying home. I wasn't poor. And I sure as hell wasn't done. Tomorrow, she'd wake up to an empty house and a rude awakening. I'd left her something she couldn't ignore, not just the note, but the first hint of the storm I was about to unleash. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new penthouse suite, the city sprawling out below me like a map of possibilities. The leather couch creaked as I sat up, my neck stiff from sleeping in an awkward position, but my mind was sharp. I'd left the house last night, walked away from Brielle and her smug little game, and now I was free. The duffel bag sat in the corner, a reminder of how little I'd needed to take with me. My phone buzzed on the glass coffee table, 10 missed calls, a dozen texts, all from her. I didn't read them yet. I knew what they'd say. Confusion at first, then anger, then some half-baked excuse. She'd woken up to an empty bed, a missing husband, and that note next to the ashes of my passport. Good. Let her stew. I showered, letting the hot water wash away the last traces of our old life, then dressed in a crisp shirt and jeans, clothes she'd never picked out for me. My first call was to Juno, my lawyer. She answered on the second ring. her voice calm and professional, like always. "You're up early," she said. "Everything okay?" I told her everything. Brielle burning my passport, her trip to Santorini with Noah, the way she'd mocked me like I was some broke loser. Then I dropped the bombshell. I sold the startup. $2 billion. Signed yesterday. There was a pause, then a low whistle. "Well, damn," Juno said. "Congratulations. And what do you want to do about her?" I smiled, staring out at the skyline. "Lock her out. Everything joint. Accounts, cards, access. I want it frozen by noon." Next, I called Theo, my business partner and the only guy who'd stuck with me through the lean years. He'd been in the room when I signed the deal, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "You're a genius," he'd said then. And now, when I told him I'd left Brielle, he laughed. "About time. What's the plan?" I told him I needed to meet some people, start putting pieces in place. He offered to handle the press if it leaked about the sale, keep my name quiet for now. I agreed. Discretion was my weapon. By midday, Juno texted, "Done. Accounts frozen. She's got nothing but what's in her purse." I pictured Brielle in Santorini, swiping her card for a cocktail and getting that polite declined from the waiter. She'd call me then, furious, demanding answers. I wouldn't pick up. I poured myself a coffee from the sweets machine, strong and black, and sat at the desk, pulling laptop open, planning my next move. The penthouse was paid for in cash, $2 million up front, no mortgage, no trail back to me yet. I'd used a shell company, something Theo had set up years ago for tax purposes. Brielle wouldn't find me here. She didn't even know I had the money to afford a place like this. To her, I was still the guy scraping by, the poor husband she'd sneered at. I needed allies now, people who could help me turn this mess into something I controlled. My first stop was Isla, Noah's fiancée. She didn't know her man was halfway to Greece with my wife, probably sipping wine and laughing about how they'd pulled one over on us. I found her number through a mutual friend, called, and asked to meet. "It's urgent," I said. She sounded wary but agreed. "Coffee shop, downtown, 1 hour." I grabbed my keys and headed out. Isla was waiting at a corner table, her blonde hair pulled back, her face tight with stress. She didn't know me well, just as Brielle's husband, the quiet guy who didn't say much at parties. I sat down, ordered a coffee, and got straight to it. "Noah's cheating on you." "With Brielle. They're in Santorini right now." Her eyes went wide, then hard. "You're lying," she said, but her voice shook. I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos I'd had a PI snap, Brielle and Noah boarding the plane, his hand on her leg, her laughing like she didn't have a care in the world. Isla's face crumpled, but she didn't cry. She just stared, then whispered, "That bastard." I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because we can help each other." She burned my passport to keep me stuck while they ran off. But I'm not stuck. I've got resources now, more than they know, and I'm going to use them. Isla looked up, her jaw tight. "What do you mean?" I told her about the sale, the money, the power I had now. "They think they've won. They haven't. I just need proof, something to bury them." She nodded slowly, then pulled out her own phone. "I've got his cloud password. Let me check something." We sat there, sipping coffee, as she scrolled through Noah's backup folder. Her fingers froze. "Oh my God," she muttered, turning the screen to me. Texts. Dozens of them. Noah and Brielle plotting. How they'd drain our accounts. How they'd frame me as the bad guy. How they'd live big while I took the fall. "He said you were broke," Isla read aloud. "Said you'd never recover." I laughed, a bitter sound. "He's about to find out how wrong he is." Isla handed me the phone. "Take it. Use it. I want him to pay." I copied the texts, sent them to Juno with a note. "Start building the case." This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. Brielle thought she'd torched my life when she burned that passport, but all she'd done was light the fuse. I thanked Isla, promised to keep her in the loop, and left the coffee shop with a fire in my gut. The penthouse waited, my new command center. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was hunting. I sat in the penthouse that night, the city lights twinkling outside like a million little eyes watching me piece my life back together. Isla's texts from Noah's phone were open on my laptop, each message a dagger Brielle and her lover had aimed at my back. I couldn't stop reading them, even though every word burned. "He's clueless," Noah had written. "Thinks he's still got a shot at something big. Wait till we cash out." Brielle's reply. "He's too busy playing dad. Won't even notice till it's gone." They'd been planning this for months, siphoning money, setting me up to look like a failure while they ran off to live their fantasy. The joke was on them. I wasn't broke. I wasn't clueless. And I sure as hell wasn't done. I called Juno again, pacing the hardwood floor, the phone pressed tight to my ear. "You got the texts?" I asked when she picked up. "Yeah," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "This analytics, these are gold. I'm pulling footage from the house cams too. Got them from the cloud backup. Sending it now." She paused, then added, "You're calm for a guy whose wife just torched his passport." I laughed, a rough sound. "Calm's all I've got left. Send it fast. I want this airtight." Juno promised to have a draft of the legal filings by morning, restraining orders, asset freezes, the works. I hung up and sank into the couch, rubbing my temples. The penthouse was quiet, too quiet, but it gave me space to think. I wasn't just fighting for money or pride. This was about the kids, about the life I'd built. Brielle could burn my passport, but she wasn't burning that. The footage came through 10 minutes later, grainy clips from the security cams I'd installed after Brielle staged that fake break-in last year. She'd claimed someone tried to jimmy the back door, but I'd never bought it. Now, watching the clips, I saw why. There she was, late at night, sneaking Noah into the garage, laughing as they stumbled inside. Another clip showed her rifling through my desk, probably looking for cash or bank statements. She'd even waved at the camera once, mocking me, thinking I'd never check. Dumb move. I saved every second of it, tagged it for Juno. This wasn't just evidence, it was ammunition. My phone buzzed again. "Brielle, where are you? Card's not working. Call me." I smirked, imagining her stranded in Santorini, tapping her foot in those ridiculous heels, yelling at some poor hotel clerk. Noah was probably sweating too, now that Isla had tipped off his firm about his extended leave. I didn't reply. Let them squirm. I had bigger fish to fry. I called Isla back, catching her just as she was leaving Noah's apartment. "Found more," she said, her voice tight. "Receipts, plane tickets, hotel bookings, all in his name, but paid with your card." My card. The joint one she'd linked to her phone for emergencies. I gritted my teeth. "Send it over." "You okay?" She sighed. "No, but I will be. He's not getting away with this." I liked her grit. She was collateral damage, like me, but she wasn't curling up to cry about it. She was fighting. The receipts hit my inbox, thousands spent on first-class tickets, a suite at some fancy Greek resort, dinners I'd never eaten. Every charge was a slap in the face, but it was also a gift. Proof. I forwarded it to Juno with a note, add theft to the list. My startup sale wasn't public yet. Theo was keeping it under wraps, but the money was already in my new accounts, offshore and untouchable. Brielle thought she drained me dry. She hadn't even scratched the surface. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The penthouse smelled like new paint and leather, a clean slate. I thought about the kids 6 and 8, probably confused this morning when I wasn't there to make pancakes. The nanny had them covered, but I'd need to see them soon, explain things without poisoning them against their mom. That'd be tough. I didn't want them hating her, even if I did. They deserved better than our mess. My mind drifted to Noah. Smug bastard. I pulled up his firm's website, some mid-tier investment group. His bio bragged about integrity and client trust. Hypocrite. Isla said she'd emailed his boss screenshots of the texts, plus a heads-up about his little vacation. By now, he was probably getting calls, scrambling to explain. I hoped he choked on it. The footage kept playing on my laptop, loop after loop of Brielle and Noah in my house, my space, acting like they owned it. One clip showed her burning my passport, holding it over the stove with tongs, giggling as the flames caught. "Bon voyage, loser," she'd said, dropping it on the counter. I froze the frame, saved it. That was Exhibit A, malicious intent, clear as day. Juno would eat it up. I stood, stretching, and walked to the window. The city hummed below, oblivious to my war. I wasn't just gathering evidence to protect myself. I was building a case to bury them. Theft, fraud, maybe even destruction of property. I didn't care about jail time for her. I just wanted her stripped bare, financially and socially. Noah too. Let them see what it's like to lose everything. Isla texted again. "He's calling me." Not answering. "You." I typed back. Radio silence. "Stay strong." She sent a thumbs up. I liked her more every minute. She wasn't just a victim. She was a partner in this now, whether she knew it or not. I sat back down, pulling up a blank document. The real plan was taking shape, not just defense, but offense. I'd expose them, not with loud accusations, but with quiet, undeniable facts. Alara, a journalist friend, owed me a favor from way back when I helped her source a tech story. She'd love this: suburban betrayal, money, sex, the whole soap opera. I shot her an email. Got a scoop. Off record for now. Coffee tomorrow. She'd bite. I could already see the headline. The clock ticked past midnight, but I wasn't tired. Adrenaline kept me sharp. Every text, every clip, every receipt was a brick in the wall I was building, one they'd never climb over. Brielle thought she'd burn me out of her life. She didn't know she'd just handed me the match. I sat at the desk in my penthouse, the laptop screen glowing with those damning texts and videos, but my mind wasn't on them anymore. It drifted back, way back, to the beginning, 12 years ago, when Brielle and I first met. I was just a scrappy coder then, hunched over a beat-up laptop in a garage that smelled like motor oil and stale coffee. She'd walked in with a friend, all bright eyes and easy smiles, wearing a sundress that caught the light. I'd been debugging code for 16 hours straight, my hair a mess, my shirt wrinkled, but she didn't care. "You look like you're building the future," she'd said, leaning against the workbench. I laughed, shy and awkward, and told her it was just a dumb app idea. She stayed anyway, asking questions, listening like she actually cared. That was the Brielle I fell for, the one who saw something in me when I was nothing. Now, staring out at the city lights, I wondered where that girl went. Back then, I was all ambition, working late nights, scraping by on ramen and hope. She liked it at first, called me her dreamer, said she'd be there when I made it big. We got married 2 years later, a small ceremony in her parents' backyard, me in a borrowed suit, her glowing in white. I promised her the world, and I meant it. But as my startup grew, so did her expectations. The app turned into a platform, the platform into a company, and suddenly I wasn't just a dreamer. I was a machine she wanted to tune. She started picking my clothes, telling me my old jeans were embarrassing now that I had investors to impress. My buddies from college? Too scruffy, she'd say, steering me toward her polished friends instead. Even my family got the cold shoulder. She'd make excuses to skip dinners with my mom, my brother Kai, saying they didn't fit her vibe. I let it happen. That's the part that stings now. I was so focused on building something real, something that'd last, that I didn't see her reshaping me into her accessory. The late nights at the office weren't just about work. They were my escape from her constant nudges, her little digs about how I wasn't fun anymore. She wanted luxury, status, the Instagram life, while I was still the guy who'd rather fix a bug than sip champagne at some gala. Over time, I became this curated version of myself, clean-shaven, buttoned up, quiet at her parties because she'd trained me to be. I thought it was compromise. It wasn't. It was control. The passport burning? That was her final move, her way of saying I didn't matter anymore. "Stay home," she'd smirked, like I was some lapdog she could chain up while she ran off with Noah. She didn't just want me out of the picture, she wanted me small, powerless, a footnote in her shiny new story. I poured a glass of water from the penthouse sink, gulping it down as the memory hit me harder. 12 years, 2 kids, a life I'd built brick by brick, and she'd lit a match to it like it was trash. But she didn't know the half of it. She didn't know I'd sold the company, that I'd turned that garage dream into $2 billion. To her, I was still the broke coder, the poor husband she could mock. She'd married a lie, but not the one she thought. I walked to the window, pressing my hand against the cool glass. The city buzzed below, alive and indifferent. I thought about the early days, how we'd stay up late dreaming about trips we couldn't afford, like that villa in Florence I'd sketched out on a napkin once. She'd laughed, said we'd go someday when I made it. I made it, all right. And now I was here, alone in a penthouse, while she was sipping wine in Santorini with a guy who thought he'd won her. The irony twisted in my gut. I'd spent years building something for us, for the kids, and she'd traded it for a fling and a tan. My phone buzzed, another text from her. "This isn't funny. Where's the money?" I didn't answer. She'd figure it out soon enough, when the cards kept declining, when Noah's promises fell flat. I wasn't the guy she'd married anymore, not the naive dreamer she could mold. I was something else now, something she'd underestimated. The footage from the house cams, the text from Isla, the receipts, they were all pieces of the puzzle, but this wasn't just about evidence. It was about me remembering who I was before her. I thought about the kids again, how she'd dressed them up like little dolls for her social media, how she'd roll her eyes when I took them to the park instead of some cute brunch spot. She'd turned our family into her backdrop, and I'd let her. No more. I'd get them back, give them a life that wasn't about likes or filters. I'd show them the world, Florence, maybe, like I'd promised myself years ago. Brielle could keep her Santorini. I'd take the real stuff. I sat back down, running a hand through my hair. The penthouse felt too big, too empty, but it was mine. No trace of her here. No perfume. No demands. No smirks. Just me and the truth. She'd burned my passport to keep me grounded, to clip my wings while she flew off. But I wasn't the backup plan she thought I was. I was the main event, the guy who'd built an empire while she was busy posing. She'd mocked my work, my friends, my roots, thinking she'd outgrown me. Now I'd remind her, the man she burned wasn't her stepping stone. He was the whole damn mountain. I closed the laptop, the screen going dark. Tomorrow, I'd meet Alara, start laying the groundwork to expose this mess. But tonight, I just sat there, letting the past settle around me like dust. 12 years with a woman who'd never really known me. 12 years of bending, shrinking, trying to fit her frame. That was over. The lie she married was dead. The real me? He was just getting started. I woke up to the soft hum of the penthouse air conditioning, the city still asleep outside my windows. My phone was silent. No buzzing, no texts from Brielle, just a quiet that felt like victory. I'd gone dark last night, turned off notifications, let her stew in the mess she'd made. She was in Santorini by now, probably waking up to declined cards and a boyfriend who couldn't cover the tab. I pictured her tapping her foot, flipping her hair, demanding answers from a hotel clerk who didn't care. Good. Let her feel it. I rolled out of bed, my bare feet hitting the cool hardwood, and made coffee, strong, black, no fuss. The penthouse smelled like freedom, and I was ready to use it. First thing, I called Juno. Status? I asked, sipping from my mug. She didn't waste words. Joint accounts are locked. Cards canceled. She's got whatever cash she took with her, and that's it. Offshore trusts are set. Your $2 billion's safe. She can't touch a dime. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. The house. Juno's voice sharpened. Deeds off your name. Transferred to the LLC. She's got no claim unless she fights it in court, and with what money? I smirked. The mansion, our big, shiny suburban cage, was mine in every way that mattered. Brielle could bang on the door all she wanted. She wasn't getting in. I'd gone ghost, and it felt good. No calls, no explanations, just me pulling levers she didn't even know existed. I checked my new bank app, clean, separate accounts, fat with the sale money. Theo had wired his cut too, but mine was the lion's share. $2 billion, sitting there like a loaded gun. Brielle thought she'd left me broke, scrambling. She didn't know I'd been planning for years quiet moves, shell companies, trust she'd never sniffed out. I wasn't the fool she'd painted me as. Next, I texted Isla. How's it going? She replied fast. Noah's freaking out. Firm's on his ass. I'm good, thanks. I liked her more every day. She'd taken her own hit but wasn't crumbling. She'd sent his boss the texts, the receipts, everything, and now Noah was feeling the heat. His cushy job was probably toast by now. Cheating on your fiancé with a married woman doesn't look great on a resume. I typed back. Stay sharp. She'll be home soon. Isla sent a fist bump emoji. We were a team now, whether she realized it or not. I paced the penthouse, coffee in hand, thinking about my next move. The kids were with the nanny, safe, fed, probably asking where I was. I'd call later, keep it light, but I needed to focus today. Brielle's world was collapsing, and I was the architect. I pulled up the housecam footage again, watching her burn my passport on loop. That smirk, that laugh, it fueled me. She thought she'd grounded me, but I was already flying. My phone pinged an email from Juno. House codes changed. She's locked out when she lands. Perfect. I imagined her rolling up in a cab, designer bags in tow, punching the old code into the keypad. Nothing. She'd scream, call me, maybe even the cops. Let her try. The LLC owned it now, and I had every right to secure my property. She'd be stuck outside in those stupid heels, looking like the fool she was. I needed to hit harder, though, not just money, not just the house. I wanted her exposed, her perfect little life peeled back for everyone to see. That's when I thought of Alara. She was a journalist I'd met years ago, back when my startup was just a blip. I tipped her off to a tech story once, saved her deadline. She owed me. I grabbed my laptop, Shot her a message. Hey, got something big. Suburban influencer, double life, money, betrayal, the works. Coffee today? Off record for now. She replied in minutes, hell yes. 2 p.m., usual spot. I grinned. Alara loved a juicy scoop, and this was a banquet. I spent the morning digging deeper, cross-checking the receipts Isla sent, matching them to the cam footage. Every move Brielle and Noah made was sloppy, traceable. They'd used my card for everything: flights, hotels, even a damn couples massage. I saved it all, built the file thicker. Juno would use it for the legal side, but Alara? She'd turn it into a story that'd torch Brielle's precious image. All those followers, those brand deals, she'd lose them overnight. By noon, I was restless. I grabbed my keys, headed to the coffee shop early. The place was quiet, just a few people tapping away on laptops. I took a corner table, ordered a black coffee, and waited. Alara showed up right on time, her dark hair pulled back, her notebook already out. You look different, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Good different. I shrugged. New chapter. You ready for this? She leaned in, eyes bright. Spill. I kept it vague, no names yet, just the bones. A suburban wife, an affair, a husband she thought she'd ruined. She burned my passport to keep me home while she ran off with him. I said, thinks I'm broke. I'm not. Alara's pen flew across the page. And the twist. I leaned back, sipping my coffee. I just sold my company. $2 billion. She doesn't know. Alara whistled low. That's a hell of a hook. What's the play? I told her I wanted a feature, not about me, not yet, but about the quiet financial abuses, the fake lives people like Brielle lived. She's the centerpiece, I said. Her and her lover. Let the world see. Alara nodded, scribbling. I can run it anonymous for now, sources say, that vibe. When you're ready, we name names. I agreed. Timing was everything. Brielle would be back soon, and I wanted this prime to drop when she least expected it. We hashed out details, how she'd frame it, what I'd send her next. By the time I left, the plan was solid. Back at the penthouse, I checked my phone. Brielle again. This is insane. Answer me. I didn't. Ghost protocol was in full effect. She'd land tomorrow, find the house locked, the money gone, Noah's life imploding. I'd be here, silent, untouchable, pulling strings. She'd burned my passport to trap me. I'd burned her world to set myself free. I stood by the penthouse window, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up below me. It was 3 days since Brielle had left for Santorini, and today she'd land back home, right into the trap I'd set. My phone had been quiet all morning. No texts, no calls, just the calm before the storm. Juno had confirmed everything. The house codes were changed, the accounts frozen, the LLC in place. Brielle was walking into a brick wall, and I wasn't there to soften the blow. I didn't feel guilty, not after the passport, not after the texts, not after seeing her laugh with Noah on those cams. She'd made her bed. Now she could sleep in it. I checked the flight tracker on my laptop. Her plane was due in at noon. I pictured her strutting through the airport, designer sunglasses on, expecting to come home to her perfect life. Instead, she'd find a locked door and a bank account that didn't answer her prayers. Noah was probably with her, sweating through his excuses, his own world crumbling after Isla's moves. I smirked, sipping my coffee. They deserved each other, two liars scrambling in the wreckage. I wasn't at the house, of course. I'd been watching the cams remotely, the app open on my phone. The nanny had taken the kids to her place last night. My instructions, no questions asked. I'd call them later, tell them I was on a work trip, keep it simple. They didn't need to see this part. The footage from this morning showed an empty driveway, the mansion sitting there like a ghost town. I waited, knowing she'd show up soon, knowing the cameras would catch it all. Around 1 p.m., my phone pinged, a motion alert from the front door cam. There she was. Brielle, rolling up in a cab, her hair a little messy, her face tight with irritation. She dragged her suitcase to the keypad, punched in the old code. Nothing. She tried again, harder, then slammed her fist on the door. I turned up the volume, heard her yell, "What the hell?" She pulled out her phone, probably calling me, but I'd blocked her number last night. No point in listening to her scream. She paced the porch, her heels clicking, then tried the back door. Locked. She kicked it, swore loud enough for the mic to pick up, and sat on the steps, head in her hands. I leaned back on the couch, watching her unravel. She looked smaller out there, less like the queen she played online and more like a kid who'd lost her toy. Her suitcase sat beside her, a a bright pink monstrosity stuffed with clothes she couldn't afford anymore. I didn't feel bad. She'd burned my passport, mocked me, run off with Noah thinking she'd won. This was her wake-up call, cold, hard, and overdue. My phone buzzed. Juno. She's at the house, she said. Cops might get called if she keeps banging around. You good with that? I nodded to myself. Yeah, let her try. It's my property now. She's got no leg to stand on. Juno chuckled. She's gonna hate you for this. I shrugged, even though she couldn't see. She hated me anyway. This just makes it official. While Brielle stewed outside, I had work to do. I'd been thinking about my mom lately, how she'd raised me and Kai alone after Dad split, how she'd always said I'd do something big. She died 5 years ago, cancer, and I'd wanted to start a foundation in her name ever since. Brielle had shot it down every time, said it wasn't glamorous enough, that I should focus on real investments like her influencer friends did. Screw that. Now, with the sale money, I could do it right. I called Theo. Hey, you still got that nonprofit guy's number? He did. Sending it now. What's this about? I told him Mom's foundation, education grants, tech for kids like I'd been. He got quiet, then said, she'd love that, man. I'm in, whatever you need. I spent the afternoon on the phone with the nonprofit guy, a sharp dude named Marcus. We hashed out a plan, $5 million to start, scholarships, coding camps, all in Mom's name. It felt good, like I was building something that mattered, not just for me but for her. Brielle never got that, legacy over likes. By the time I hung up, the papers were in motion. I'd sign tomorrow. Back on the cams, Brielle was gone. The cab must have come back. She'd probably checked into a hotel, burning through whatever cash she had left. I didn't care where she went, as long as it wasn't my problem. I poured a whiskey, sat down, and wrote her a letter. Not an email, not a text, old school, pen on paper. I kept it short. You burned my passport to take a man on my dream trip. So I burned the illusion you called a marriage. I won't stop you from chasing fantasies. But you'll do it without me, and without the empire I built. I sealed it, addressed it to the house. The mail guy would drop it tomorrow. She'd find it eventually, whenever she figured out how to get back in. I leaned back, sipping the whiskey, letting the burn settle in my chest. The penthouse was quiet, but it didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like mine. The kids would be okay. I'd see them soon, take them somewhere fun, away from this mess. Brielle? She'd landed back in reality, and it wasn't the soft landing she'd expected. The cams had caught her meltdown, another piece for Juno's file, but I didn't need to watch it again. I'd seen enough. The clock hit 8 p.m. I stood, stretched, and walked to the window. The city glowed, alive and moving, while Brielle's world shrank. She'd thought she could burn me out of her life, leave me stuck while she danced off with Noah. But I wasn't stuck. I was free, freer than I'd been in years. The foundation was my start, a piece of something real. She'd get the letter, read the words, and no, this wasn't her game anymore. It was mine, and I was just warming up. I woke up to the sound of rain tapping against the penthouse windows, a steady drum that matched the rhythm of my thoughts. It was day 4 since Brielle's world started cracking, and I could feel the shift in the air, like the storm outside was washing away the last of her illusions. I made coffee, the machine hissing as I checked my phone. No calls from her, not since I'd blocked her, but the internet was buzzing. She'd posted late last night on her precious social media, some vague, dramatic caption, going through something real, but coming back stronger. I snorted into my mug. Typical Brielle, spinning her mess into a sob story, fishing for likes and sympathy. She didn't know the half of what was coming. I pulled up the house cams from yesterday's footage, her pacing the porch, yelling into her phone, then slumping off with her suitcase. She'd probably crashed at a hotel, maybe Noah's place if he'd made it back too. Didn't matter. She was scrambling, and I was steady. Juno had texted. She tried a lawyer. Some cheap guy. He's got nothing, prenup's ironclad. I grinned. That prenup, she'd laughed when we signed it, said it was pointless because I'd never amount to much. Now it was her cage, locking her out of my billions. The rain picked up, streaking the glass as I sat at the desk, laptop open. Alara's article had gone live an hour ago, behind the facade, when influence becomes control, and it was already spreading. She'd kept it anonymous like I'd asked, no names yet, just a suburban influencer who'd manipulated her husband's finances while living a double life with a lover. The details were vague but sharp. Enough to make people whisper, to make Brielle's followers squint at her latest post and wonder. I scrolled X, watching the chatter build. Sounds like someone I know, one user wrote. These fake perfect wives are the worst, said another. I didn't reply, didn't need to. The seed was planted. My phone buzzed. Alara. It's hitting. Comments are wild. You good? I typed back. Perfect. Let it cook. She sent a fire emoji. I leaned back, sipping my coffee, feeling the warmth spread. Brielle's whole game was her image. Those curated photos, they blessed captions, the brand deals that paid for her highlights and handbags. Now it was crumbling, and she didn't even know why yet. Her followers weren't buying the pity play. Too many had seen the article. Too many were connecting dots. I thought about her out there, probably refreshing her phone, watching the likes slow down. She'd call it a glitch, blame the algorithm, but the truth was colder. People smelled the lie. Her friends, those shallow influencer types she'd collected, were already pulling back. I'd seen it on her account. Fewer comments from the usual crew, no hard eyes from the Yoga Mom squad. Brands would be next. They'd drop her quietly, no emails, just a slow fade. She'd built her castle on sand, and the tide was coming in. An email popped up, anonymous, no name, just a throwaway address. She used to mock you. It read. Called you her little money tree. Said you'd never leave because you had no spine. Glad you proved her wrong. I stared at it, my jaw tight. One of her cronies, maybe, or someone she'd vented to at a wine night. Didn't matter who. It confirmed what I'd suspected. She'd never respected me, just used me as her prop. I saved it, forwarded it to Juno. Another brick in the wall. The rain kept falling, a gray curtain over the city. I stood, stretching, and walked to the window. Brielle was in damage control mode, but she had no tools left. No money, no house, no husband to lean on. Noah was useless too. Isla had gutted his career, and he'd be lucky to keep a job flipping burgers. I pictured them holed up somewhere, arguing over whose fault it was, their grand plan in ashes. She'd burned my passport to keep me down, but all she'd done was light her own fuse. I checked the cams again. Nothing new, just the empty house, rain pooling in the driveway. She hadn't come back yet, probably licking her wounds somewhere. I didn't care. My focus was shifting, less on her, more on me. The foundation papers were ready. I'd sign them tomorrow with Marcus. $5 million to start, a real legacy, not some filtered photo. Op Mom would have loved it. Brielle never did. She'd called it a waste, said I should buy a yacht instead. Funny how she'd chased flash while I built substance. My phone pinged again, a text from Theo. Article's a hit. You sure you don't want your name out there? Hero vibes. I laughed, typed back. Not yet. Let her burn first. He sent a thumbs up. Theo got it. He'd seen Brielle's snide comments over the years, watched her try to shrink me. Now he was cheering me on, and it felt good to have him in my corner. I sat back down, pulling up her social media again. The post was still up, but the comments were turning. What's real, huh? Spill the tea, one said. This why your grid's been quiet? Another jabbed. I didn't smile, too much anger for that, but I felt the shift. She'd thrived on control, on everyone buying her act. Now the mask was slipping, and she couldn't glue it back on. The anonymous email stuck with me. Little money tree. That's what she'd seen me as, something to shake for cash, then toss when the leaves dried up. She didn't know I'd grown roots deeper than she could reach, that I'd turned that tree into a forest. $2 billion, a new life, a chance to be me again. She'd mocked my work ethic, my quiet nights coding while she partied. Now that work had uprooted her whole game. I poured a whiskey, the rain a steady beat outside. The article was just the start. Alara had more coming when I gave the word. Brielle's burn notice was live, and the fire was spreading. She'd wake up tomorrow to fewer followers, colder friends, a life she couldn't fake her way out of. I wasn't gloating, not yet. This wasn't about joy. It was about justice. She tried to burn me out of her story. Now I was writing the ending, and it wasn't hers to control. I stood in the penthouse kitchen, the morning light cutting through the rain clouds that had finally cleared. The coffee machine gurgled as I waited, my mind on the meeting ahead. Brielle had texted last night. Not from her number, probably a friend's phone since I'd blocked her. We need to talk. Public place. Please. I'd stared at it for 10 minutes before replying. Fine. Noon. The diner on 5th. I didn't want to see her, didn't want to hear her voice, but I needed to look her in the eye one last time. See if she'd squirm, lie, or finally break. The diner was neutral ground, busy enough that she couldn't make a scene. I'd hear her out, then walk away for good. The clock hit 11:30, and I grabbed my jacket, plain, black, nothing she'd picked. The drive was short, the city humming around me as I pulled into the diner's lot. She was already there, sitting in a booth by the window, her hair pulled back, her face bare of the usual makeup. She looked tired, smaller somehow, like the fight had drained out of her. I slid into the seat across from her, keeping my expression blank. The waitress came by, and I ordered coffee black, no sugar. Brielle fidgeted with her water glass, her nails chipped, no polish. That was new. You're being cruel, she started, her voice low but sharp. Locking me out, freezing everything, it's too much. You've made your point. I leaned back, sipping my coffee, letting her words hang there. She expected me to jump in, apologize, fix it. I didn't. No, I said finally, setting the mug down. This isn't revenge. This is release. I'm not punishing you, Brielle. I'm removing you from the center of my story. Her eyes narrowed, then widened, like she couldn't decide if I was serious. Your story? She snapped. What about ours? The kids, the house? You burned that. I cut in, my voice steady. The second you torched my passport and ran off with Noah. You don't get to play wife now. She flinched, her hands tightening on the glass. It wasn't like that, she said, but her tone was weak, rehearsed. I just needed a break. You were always working, always gone. I laughed, a short, bitter sound that stopped her cold. A break? You planned it for months. Stole from me. Mocked me. Don't lie to my face. She shifted, her eyes darting to the table, then back up. Okay, fine. I messed up. But you can't just erase me. We've got history. History. 12 years of me bending, building, while she posed and preened. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. History's why I'm here. I gave you everything: time, money, a life. You threw it back at me. Now you're out of moves. Her lips parted, then closed. She tried a new tack, softening her voice, tilting her head like she used to when she wanted something. We can fix this. For the kids. I'll come home. We'll work it out, Al. No, I said, sharper this time. You don't get it. There's no home for you to come back to. It's mine, the house, the money, the life I built. You're not part of it anymore. Her face hardened, the mask slipping. You think you're some big shot now? You'll crash without me. You always needed me to. I held up a hand, stopping her. I needed you to what? Dress me up? Tell me who to be? I'm done with that. And you're done with me. She tried threats next, her voice rising. I'll fight this. Lawyers, courts, I'll take half. I pulled the prenup from my jacket, slid it across the table. She'd signed it years ago, laughing, thinking it was a joke. Read it, I said. You get nothing. Not a dime. Her eyes scanned the page, her breath hitching. This can't. There's no way. I stood, tossing a few bills for the coffee. Turns out poor husbands do pretty well when they play the long game. Goodbye, Brielle. I walked out, her stare burning into my back, but I didn't turn. The air outside was crisp, the city alive around me. She'd tried everything: guilt, charm, threats, and none of it stuck. I got in my car, let out a long breath. That was it, the last thread cut. She wasn't my wife anymore, not in any way that mattered. The diner faded in my rear view as I drove back to the penthouse, the weight lifting off my chest. Back home, I poured a whiskey, the afternoon sun slanting through the windows. The prenup was my shield, but the Real wind was walking away. She'd thought she could manipulate me one last time, pull me back into her orbit. She didn't know I'd outgrown it, outgrown her. My phone buzzed. Alara. Articles still trending. Push the names? I typed back. Soon. Let it simmer. Brielle's meltdown at the diner would have been gold for the story, but I didn't need it. The anonymous version was enough for now. I thought about her sitting there, grasping at straws. She'd called me cruel, but cruelty would have been dragging this out, playing her game. I'd ended it clean. The kids were next. I'd see them tomorrow, take them for ice cream, start rebuilding what she'd cracked. They didn't need her drama, just me being there. I'd figure out custody with Juno, keep it smooth. The whiskey burned going down, a good burn. I wasn't the man she'd married, the quiet coder she could shape. I was me again, raw and real, with $2 billion and a life she couldn't touch. She'd unmasked herself today, shown the desperation behind the polish. I'd unmasked her too, stripped her of the power she'd held over me. The match was over. I'd won. And I wasn't looking back. I woke up to sunlight spilling across the penthouse floor, the city stretching out beyond the glass like a promise I could finally keep. Brielle was gone, not just from the house, but from my head, her voice fading after yesterday's diner showdown. I cut the last tie, left her grasping at air, and now the day was mine. Coffee brewed in the kitchen, the rich smell filling the space as I pulled on a plain t-shirt and jeans, clothes I liked, not one she'd approved. My phone buzzed. Marcus, the nonprofit guy. Papers ready. Meet at 10. I typed back. See you there. Today was about building, not breaking. I drove to his office downtown, the streets busy with morning traffic. The foundation was real now, Mom's name on it. $5 million to start, a chance to give kids like I'd been a shot at something big. Marcus greeted me with a handshake, his desk piled with forms. This is solid, he said, sliding the papers over. Scholarships, coding camps, mentorships, starts next quarter. I signed, my pen scratching across the page, feeling her with me, Mom, who'd worked double shifts to buy me that first clunky computer. Brielle had called this a waste. She was wrong. This was legacy. Back in the car, I called the nanny. Bring the kids to the park at noon, I said. I'll meet you there. She agreed, no questions. I hadn't seen them since I'd left, and the ache hit hard, my son's goofy grin, my daughter's quiet questions. I'd kept it light on the phone, said I was working, but they deserved more. The park was neutral, open, a place to start fresh. I stopped for ice cream on the way, chocolate for him, strawberry for her, guessing their favorites like I hadn't been gone. They ran to me when I got there, small arms wrapping around my legs. Daddy, my son yelled, his face smeared with dirt already. My daughter hugged quieter, her eyes searching mine. Where were you? She asked. I crouched down, handed them the cones. Work stuff, kiddo. But I'm here now. How's it been? They chattered, school, the nanny's pancakes, a lizard they'd seen. I listened, really listened, no phone in my hand, no Brielle nagging in the background. We sat on a bench, the sun warm, and I told them we'd take a trip soon. Where? My son asked, ice cream dripping. Florence, I said. Italy. Cool buildings, good food. They grinned, no clue it was my dream too, one Brielle had mocked. The nanny watched from a distance, giving us space. I'd sort custody later, Juno was on it. But for now, this was enough. They didn't ask about their mom, and I didn't bring her up. She'd call them eventually, spin her story, but I wouldn't poison them against her. They'd see the truth someday. We played tag, me chasing them through the grass, laughing like I hadn't in years. My lungs burned, but it felt good, alive, free. Later, I dropped them back with the nanny and drove to the university. I'd guest lectured there before, back when the startup was small. The dean had emailed last week, asking me to come again. I walked into the lecture hall, kids in hoodies staring up, some half asleep. I'm not here to bore you, I started, leaning on the podium. I'm here to tell you what I wish I'd known. I talked code, grit, how I'd built something from a garage. They perked up when I mentioned the sale, $2 billion, a number that made their eyes widen. Money's nice, I said, but it's what you do with it that counts. I told them about the foundation, saw a few nod. One kid asked, what's the catch? I grinned. No catch. Just work hard and don't let anyone tell you you're small. Driving back, I called Kai, my brother. We drifted, Brielle's doing, mostly, saying he was too rough for her crowd. Hey, man, I said when he picked up. Been too long. He laughed, deep and warm. No kidding. You okay? Heard some crap about Brielle. I told him short version, no drama. Damn, he said. You're a badass now. Trip soon? Me. You, the kids. I smiled. Florence. You're in. He hooped. Hell yeah. Next was Silas, my best friend from college. Brielle had hated him, called him a slacker because he didn't dress the part. Yo, he answered, voice sleepy. You alive? I laughed. More than ever. Florence, me and Kai. You. He groaned, then chuckled. Twist my arm. I'm there. We'd rebuild, me, Kai, Silas, the kids. No filters, no fakes. Back at the penthouse, I sat at the desk, laptop open. The platform I'd been coding secret, personal, needed finishing. I called it Vero, truth, authenticity, a space for real voices, not posed perfection. Brielle's world was likes and lies. This was the opposite. I typed, lines flowing, the old coder in me waking up. Hours passed, the sun dipping low, and I leaned back, satisfied. It wasn't done, but it was alive. I poured a whiskey, stepped onto the balcony. Florence waited, my trip, my way, no approval needed. The kids' laughter echoed in my head, Kai's voice, Silas's grin. The foundation was rolling, the lecture had landed, Vero was breathing. Brielle was out there somewhere, scrambling, but she didn't own me anymore. I'd shifted, money, Sure, but more than that. Freedom. Purpose. Me again, not her version. The city glowed below, a canvas I could paint on now. 2 billion open doors, but this family, work, truth was the key. I sipped the whiskey, the breeze cool on my face. Legacy mode wasn't about winning against her. It was about building beyond her. And I was just getting started. I stood on the stage in Lisbon, the tech conference buzzing around me, a sea of faces staring up from the crowd. The lights were hot, the mic heavy in my hand, but I felt steady, steadier than I'd been in years. It was a year since Brielle burned my passport, a year since I'd walked out and turned her world upside down. Now I was here, unveiling Vero, my platform, my truth to a room full of coders, investors, and dreamers. The screen behind me glowed with the logo, simple, bold, real. Authenticity, I said, my voice carrying over the hum. Accountability. Truth. That's what this is about. The crowd leaned in, phones up, recording. I wasn't nervous. This was me, raw and ready. I'd spent months coding Vero, nights on the penthouse balcony with my laptop, the city lights my only company. It wasn't just an app. It was a middle finger to the fake lives Brielle thrived on, a space where people could build without posing. I walked them through it, open source roots, encrypted chats, no algorithms pushing lies. We've got enough filters, I said. This strips them away. They clapped, a ripple at first, then a wave. I saw Kai in the front row, grinning, Silas beside him giving a thumbs up. The kids were with the nanny back home, but I'd bring them here someday, show them what their dad could do. After the demo, I stepped off stage, the Q&A looming. Reporters swarmed, mics in my face. 2 billion from your startup, true? One asked. I nodded. Yeah, sold it last year. Another jumped in. Rumors say your wife betrayed you. That why you built this? I paused, the question hanging there. Brielle's shadow still followed me, even here. I smiled, kept it light. She gave me clarity. That's worth more than anything she took. They scribbled, nodded, moved on. I didn't name her, not yet. Alara's article had done its job, and Brielle's name was mud online anyway. I didn't need to twist the knife. The crowd thinned, and I grabbed a water, my throat dry from talking. Kai slapped my back. Killed it, man. Mom'd be proud. I grinned. Yeah, she would. Silas chimed in. Drinks later. You're buying, billionaire. I laughed, the sound easy. Florence had been a blast. Me, Kai, Silas, the kids, eating gelato by the Arno. No schedules, no filters. Now Lisbon was ours, a victory lap I'd earned. A woman approached, dark hair, sharp eyes. Not a reporter, something else. Great talk, she said, her voice warm but direct. I'm Noah. Artist, entrepreneur. Vero's got legs, real ones. I liked her already. No fluff, no games. Thanks, I said. What's your angle? She smiled, a spark there. Building something too. Smaller scale, but same vibe, truth over trash. We talked. Her project, mine, the mess of tech these days. She didn't ask about money, didn't fish for status. Just ideas, straight up. Rebuilding's hard, I said, testing her. She nodded. So am I. I grinned. Me too. We swapped numbers. Nothing forced. Just a thread to pull later. She walked off, and I watched her go, feeling something shift. Not love. Not yet. Just possibility. Brielle had been flash and control. Noah felt like fire and grit. I didn't need a partner, but I wasn't closed off either. The right side of history wasn't about being alone. It was about being real. Back at the hotel, I sat on the balcony, Lisbon's lights sprawling below. The conference buzzed online, Vero trending, my name tied to it. Visionary, they called me. Comeback king. I didn't care about the labels. The sale, the money, it was fuel, not the fire. The fire was this, the foundation thriving, kids in coding camps because of mom's name, my own kids laughing again, asking about Italy, Kai and Silas back in my life, Vero breathing, growing. Brielle? She was a footnote now, divorce final, her accounts dry, her followers gone. She tried to come back post months ago, got ratioed to hell. I didn't check anymore. I thought about that night, the passport in ashes, her smirk, my quiet exit. She'd thought she'd won, thought I'd stay small. But I'd burned bigger, burned the lies she'd built around me, the cage she'd locked me in. 2 billion open doors, but walking out saved me. I'd rebuilt, not for revenge, but for me. The kids had a dad again, not a prop. I had brothers, Kai, Silas, not her fake friends. And now, maybe, Noah. A spark, not a script. My phone buzzed. Theo. Launch is a hit. Investors calling. You're back, man. I typed. Never left. Just found the right side. He sent a fist bump. I leaned back, the night air cool. Lisbon glowed, a city I'd conquered, but the Real wind was quieter. Me here, whole. Brielle's fire hadn't destroyed me. It had cleared the way, torched the junk I didn't need. I'd lost a wife, a house, a version of myself I'd hated. I'd gained everything else. I stood, stretching, the conference noise fading below. Vera was out there now, my mark on the world. The foundation was growing, the kids were mine, and Noah's number sat in my phone, a maybe, a what if. I didn't need to prove anything to Brielle anymore. She'd lost the game she'd started. I was on the right side, not of money or fame, but of me. The man I'd always been, under her noise. The one she'd never seen coming. I walked inside, the balcony door clicking shut. Tomorrow, I'd fly home, kids, Kai, Silas, a life I'd built. Some fires don't end you. They start you. And I was burning bright. I stood frozen at the entrance of the wedding hall, my heart hammering against my ribs. My tuxedo, the one I had spent months picking out and tailoring to perfection, suddenly felt suffocating. The heat from the room pressed against my skin, but it wasn't the temperature. It was the weight of betrayal sinking deep into my bones. I had walked in, expecting to see my bride, Rachel, waiting for me at the altar, surrounded by friends and family, ready to start our lives together. Instead, I was greeted by her mother standing tall in the middle of the aisle, her smile sharp enough to slice through steel. "You're no longer needed," she said, tilting her head, her voice sickly sweet. I blinked, convinced I had misheard her. The murmurs in the hall grew louder as heads turned, eyes shifting between me and the woman who had just dismissed me like an uninvited guest at my own wedding. Then Rachel stepped beside her, her perfectly curled hair falling over one shoulder, her makeup pristine, her dress, the dress I had paid for, flowing around her like she was the queen of some twisted fairy tale. And yet, not a single flicker of guilt crossed her face. No hesitation, no second thoughts. "My alpha brother will take your place," she said, her tone dripping with something that made my stomach twist. My mind blanked for a second. The words didn't make sense. I had been with Rachel for years. I had planned this day down to the smallest detail. I had poured $15,000 into this wedding, making sure she had everything she wanted, everything she had dreamed of. And now she was telling me I had been replaced like a defective part? The whispers in the room grew into a wave of judgment. Some guests looked away, uncomfortable. Others stared at me, waiting for me to explode, to fight, to demand answers. Rachel's mother stepped forward, her smirk deepening. "You have two options," she said, her voice just loud enough for the guests to hear. "Leave, or take a seat in the audience and watch a real man marry my daughter." A real man? The insult cut deeper than I cared to admit. The rage burned hot, scorching through my veins, my fists clenching at my sides. I could feel my pulse in my throat, the taste of humiliation thick on my tongue. Every muscle in my body screamed for me to lash out, to make them regret this moment for the rest of their lives. But then I exhaled. Not yet. I looked Rachel in the eyes, searching for anything. Any sign that she realized what she was doing, any flicker of hesitation. But there was nothing. Just that smug satisfaction, the kind that came from knowing she had won. She thought I was weak. She thought I was broken. So I did the last thing they expected. I turned around and walked out. The gasps echoed through the hall. Rachel's mother's smug expression faltered, just for a moment. Rachel's lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't actually expected me to go through with it. Good. Let them think they had won. Let them revel in their so-called victory. Because the game had only just begun. An hour later, I sat in my car, parked in an empty lot. The tuxedo jacket had been thrown onto the passenger seat. My tie loosened, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The phone buzzed beside me. At first, I ignored it. I wasn't ready to hear whatever excuse, whatever pathetic justification Rachel or her family had cooked up. Then it rang again, and again. By the fourth time, I picked it up. The second I answered, I was met with screaming. Rachel's voice, frantic and shrill, cut through the speaker. You ruined everything. I almost laughed. The sheer audacity of it. Me. My voice was eerily calm. I ruined everything? Rachel, you replaced me at my own wedding. You let your mother throw me out like I was nothing. And now, you have the nerve to call me? There was a stuttering breath on the other end, followed by more frantic yelling. The wedding is a mess. The guests are leaving. Nothing is going as planned. I leaned back in my seat, a slow smirk forming. Good, good, she shrieked. Matthew, you don't understand. No, Rachel. My voice hardened. You don't understand. But don't worry. You will soon. And then, before she could say another word, I hung up. As I sat there, the weight of the situation settled over me. Rachel and her family thought they had crushed me, that I would simply disappear, licking my wounds, while they carried on with their twisted version of a perfect day. They had no idea what was coming. I took a slow breath, my mind already spinning with the next steps. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. They wanted to play dirty? Fine. I would burn everything they built to the ground. Walking away wasn't an act of surrender. It was a strategic retreat. They thought they had one, that they had humiliated me beyond recovery. They had no idea who they were dealing with. As I drove through the city, my mind sharpened, the initial sting of betrayal transforming into something colder, something more dangerous. Rachel and her family had spent years treating me like I was an accessory to her life, something replaceable. They believed I was desperate for their approval, that I would bend over backward to prove I was good enough for them. They were wrong. I pulled into a quiet parking lot, my hands steady as I pulled out my phone. If they thought I was going to disappear, they were about to learn just how much of their perfect day was still under my control. I dialed the number of the venue manager. He answered after 2 rings. Mr. Carter, everything going smoothly at the wedding? I almost laughed at the irony. Actually, I need you to cancel everything. Silence. Excuse me? Shut it down. The catering, the flowers, the music, everything I paid for? Gone. Now. He hesitated. Sir, the wedding is happening right now, not my wedding, I cut in. If they want to replace me, let's see how they handle a wedding without my money. A long pause, then a careful question. Should I process a refund to the original payment method? I smirked. No. No refunds. Understood. As I hung up, I pictured the chaos about to unfold inside the venue. Rachel and her mother had stolen my wedding, thinking they could swap me out like a disposable piece of furniture. Let's see how they liked it when their dream wedding fell apart before their eyes. I wasn't done yet. I scrolled through my contacts and found the number for the catering service. The moment they picked up, I got straight to the point. Cancel the food order. A surprised voice answered, Sir, we're in the middle of delivery. Turn the trucks around. No food is to be served. And while you're at it, make sure they understand there's no refund coming. The manager hesitated. Are you sure? I could already imagine the guests sitting at their tables, waiting for the grand feast that would never come. Very sure. Click. Next came the decorations. I had gone all out to make sure the wedding looked exactly how Rachel wanted. Every detail, from the floral arrangements to the silk table runners, had been meticulously chosen by her, using my money. I called the decorator. Pull everything. A confused voice on the other end stammered, Sir, the wedding is, I don't care. Pack it up. And if they give you trouble, tell them to take it up with me. I barely had time to enjoy the thought of Rachel standing in a half-empty wedding hall before I made my next move. The DJ. The moment he answered, I gave the same instruction. Cut the music. Pack your equipment and leave. He chuckled nervously. This some kind of joke? Not at all. You're no longer needed. I could hear the hesitation, but money talks, and I was the one who had paid him. One by one, I dismantled every part of the wedding that I had built. By the time I was done, the entire event was nothing but an empty shell. Now, it was time to sit back and watch the collapse. I walked into a nearby cafe, ordered a coffee, and settled into a seat by the window. My phone, once buzzing with well wishes and excitement, was now flooded with calls from Rachel and her family. I ignored them all. Minutes turned into an hour. You have to fix this. I took a slow sip of my coffee. Fix what? Everything is falling apart. The guests are complaining. There's no food, no music, no decorations. Sounds like a terrible wedding. I mused. Maybe you should ask your real man to handle it. There was silence on the other end. A pause so long that for a moment, I thought she had hung up. Then, she spoke, her voice lower now, pleading. Matthew, please. We can talk about this later. Just fix it, okay? Call the vendors. Tell them there was a mistake. We can still salvage this. I chuckled. Salvage it? Rachel, you threw me out of my own wedding. You expected me to sit quietly while you replaced me like a spare part. You thought I'd just disappear while you celebrated on my dime. But now, without me, you have nothing. It wasn't my fault, she snapped, panic slipping into her voice. It was my mother. She convinced me it was the right thing to do. Oh, so you're just a puppet now? I leaned back in my chair, twirling my spoon in my coffee cup. Poor Rachel, unable to think for herself. A grown woman letting mommy make her decisions. That's not. Let me ask you something. I cut in, my voice sharp now. When she told you to replace me, did you hesitate? Did you fight for me? Did you tell her no? Silence. I smirked. That's what I thought. I hung up before she could say another word. Meanwhile, back at the venue, the chaos only grew worse. Guests, expecting a luxurious feast, were now sitting at empty tables, muttering among themselves, checking their phones in confusion. Some of them tried to discreetly slip away. Others weren't so subtle, openly complaining as they left. Rachel's mother was in full meltdown mode, storming through the hall, demanding answers, barking orders at staff who had no idea what was going on. The best man, Rachel's so-called alpha brother, was pacing near the altar, looking around like a man realizing he had just walked into a burning building. Then, the DJ shut off his equipment and walked out. Then, the floral team started pulling down decorations. Then, the catering company arrived, not to serve food, but to pack up and leave. By the time Rachel realized how deep the damage went, she was standing in the middle of a half-empty hall, her perfect day crumbling around her. And that's when the guests started talking. The whispers started small. Wait, didn't she have a different fiancé? Wasn't Matthew supposed to be the groom? Where is he? Then, a few guests who had seen the exchange earlier started telling the truth. Her mother told him to leave. Kicked him out right at the entrance. What? Are you serious? Yeah, told him to join the audience, if he wanted to watch someone else marry Rachel. Wait, so he was the one who paid for everything? Oh my God. Like wildfire, the rumors spread. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse for them, I got a message from an old friend who was still at the wedding. Friend, dude. Cops just showed up. I laughed so hard I almost spilled my coffee. Guests who had seen me get kicked out had started telling others, and before long, the entire hall was buzzing with the real story. The more people talked, the worse it got. Some were furious about what Rachel's family had done, while others just found the entire thing hilarious. But then, one guest, someone who had known me personally, decided to bring up something else. You know, I heard Matthew paid for everything. The venue, the food, the decorations. No way. Are you serious? Dead serious. Rachel's family didn't spend a dime. He funded it all. Wait, so you're telling me she kicked him out, replaced him, and expected to keep all his money? That was the moment everything shifted. People started leaving. One by one, guests began walking out of the venue, refusing to take part in the farce that Rachel and her family had tried to pass off as a wedding. Some stopped to confront Rachel's mother, calling her out for the stunt she had pulled. Others straight up laughed in Rachel's face. And then, someone had the brilliant idea to inform the police. It turned out, while reviewing my finances earlier, I had stumbled across several unauthorized transactions. Rachel's mother had been using my credit card behind my back. Luxury spa treatments, shopping sprees, and the worst part? A down payment on a car. I hadn't even had the time to report it myself yet, but thanks to the gossip spreading like wildfire, someone else had tipped off the authorities. The moment the police heard about credit card fraud at a wedding venue, They showed up to investigate. And now, Rachel's mother was stammering, panicked, and making a complete fool of herself in front of everyone. "This is ridiculous," she hissed at the officer. "Do you know who I am?" The cop barely blinked. "Ma'am, we received a report of financial fraud involving a large sum of money. We need to ask you a few questions." I leaned against my car, arms crossed, watching the entire thing unfold. That's when Rachel spotted me. Her expression twisted into something between desperation and rage. She stormed over, the weight of her dress dragging behind her like a symbol of her own downfall. "Matthew," she snapped, "tell them this is a mistake." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, a mistake? You mean the charges on my card? Or do you mean the fact that you replaced me at the altar and thought you'd get away with it? I didn't know about the credit card. It was my mother. And you expect me to believe that?" I tilted my head. "Rachel, when were you planning to tell me? Before or after you let your real man move into my house?" Her breath hitched. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." I chuckled, shaking my head. "No, Rachel, it wasn't supposed to be like this for you. You thought you'd get everything you wanted, that I'd just disappear quietly. But you underestimated me." The officer turned to me. "Sir, are you the card holder?" I nodded. "Yes, and I was about to file a fraud report myself. I have the receipts, the statements, everything you need." Rachel's mother whirled around, furious. "You little rat. You're trying to ruin us." I smirked. "No, ma'am. You ruined yourselves." The cop gave a tight-lipped nod. "We'll need you to come down to the station later to finalize your report, sir." "Of course," I said smoothly. "Happy to help." Rachel looked like she was about to collapse. The wedding was ruined. Her mother was under police investigation. The guests had left in disgust. And the man who was supposed to take my place? I glanced around. He was nowhere to be found. As the police continued questioning Rachel's mother, Rachel just stood there, staring at the wreckage of what was supposed to be her perfect day. She turned to me one last time. "Please." I shook my head. "This is what you wanted, Rachel. Enjoy it." Then, without another word, I got into my car and drove off. This battle was over, but I wasn't done yet. I drove home, the echoes of Rachel's desperation still ringing in my ears. She had called after me like I was some lifeline she suddenly needed, but she had made her choice. She wanted to replace me. She wanted my money, but not me. And now, she had neither. As I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my lawyer. "Matthew, I just got off the phone with the fraud department. The police flagged your case, and the bank confirmed unauthorized charges under your name." I smirked, unlocking my door and stepping inside. "Let me guess, Rachel's mother?" "Correct," my lawyer replied. "We're looking at nearly $20,000 in fraudulent transactions. The bank has already started an investigation. If you press charges, they'll move forward with legal action." I leaned against my kitchen counter, exhaling slowly. $20,000. That woman had stolen from me with zero hesitation, all while plotting to push me out of Rachel's life like I was disposable. I didn't even have to think about it. Press the charges. There was a pause. "Are you sure?" "Positive," I said, my voice calm. She thought she could use me. She thought I was weak. Let's show her how wrong she was. My lawyer let out a low chuckle. "Consider it done." The next morning, the real fallout began. News of Rachel's train wreck wedding had spread far beyond the venue. Social media had exploded with footage from guests who had recorded everything. A video of Rachel's mother yelling at the police. Another clip of guests walking out after learning the truth. And the best part? A photo of Rachel standing alone in her dress, abandoned at the altar, while her supposed real man had vanished from the scene. I couldn't have planned it better myself. My phone lit up again. Rachel was calling. I let it ring. Then came another. Her father. Ignored. Then another from an unknown number, probably her mother's desperate attempt to reach me. Not happening. That afternoon, my lawyer sent me an update. The charges have been filed. The fraud department is moving forward, and Rachel's mother is looking at criminal charges for financial theft. I smirked. Good. Let's see how well she handles being the center of attention now. She'll probably try to settle, my lawyer continued. She might even beg you to drop the charges. I leaned back in my chair. She'll learn that I don't forgive thieves. That same night, Rachel showed up at my house. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. I opened the door to find her standing there, her once pristine wedding dress now wrinkled, her hair a mess, her eyes swollen. For the first time since this all started, she actually looked nervous. "Matthew," she started, her voice small. I crossed my arms. "You shouldn't be here." "I know," she admitted, her hands trembling slightly. I need to talk to you." I said nothing, waiting. She hesitated, then burst into tears. "My mom is being investigated. My family is turning on each other. Everything is falling apart. Please, you have to stop this." I stared at her, unimpressed. "I don't have to do anything, Rachel. Your family stole from me. Your mother used my money to fund her own lifestyle while treating me like trash. And you? You stood by and let it happen." She shook her head violently. "I didn't know about the money, I swear." I raised an eyebrow. "So, you're telling me your mother suddenly started buying luxury bags, spa treatments, and a brand new car, and you didn't ask where the money came from?" She bit her lip, avoiding my eyes. I didn't think." I cut her off. "That's the problem, Rachel. You never thought. You just took what you wanted and assumed there'd be no consequences." Her shoulders shook. "Matthew, please. I know I hurt you. I know I made a mistake. But you're not like this. You're not cruel." I exhaled, shaking my head. "Rachel, this isn't cruelty. This is justice." Her lips parted slightly, and for the first time, I saw the real fear in her eyes. I continued, my voice steady. "Your mother thought she could take from me and get away with it. She was wrong. Your family thought I was weak. They were wrong. And you? You thought I'd sit back and watch while you humiliated me. You were wrong too." She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "I can't fix this," she whispered. "I don't know what to do." I gave her a cold, humorless smile. "You made this mess, Rachel. Now you get to live with it." She let out a shaky breath. "You're really going through with this?" Every last step. Her tears fell harder. "I never meant for it to go this far," I sighed. "You meant for me to disappear quietly, but I didn't." She swallowed hard, wiping at her face. "I guess I deserve this." I tilted my head. "You do." Rachel stood there for a few more seconds, her chest rising and falling in unsteady breaths, before finally turning away and walking back to her car. I watched as she drove off, disappearing into the night. The battle was over, but the war wasn't finished yet. Her family's downfall was only just beginning. The days after Rachel's disastrous wedding felt like a turning point. The fallout was worse than even I had expected. The credit card fraud case was moving fast, and Rachel's mother was now the subject of a full financial investigation. Apparently, my case had opened up a much bigger issue, one that involved years of suspicious transactions. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. Rachel, meanwhile, had gone completely silent. After our last conversation, I hadn't heard a word from her. No calls, no texts, nothing. It was like she had finally accepted the reality she had created for herself. Then, on the third day, she broke. I was at home, working on my laptop, when my phone buzzed. "Rachel." I debated ignoring it. I owed her nothing, but something in me wanted to hear just how broken she had become. I answered. She didn't speak at first. All I could hear was her breathing, uneven, shaky. Then, in a whisper, "Matthew, I don't know what to do." I leaned back in my chair. "About what?" A choked laugh. "About everything. My family, my mom, my life. It's all falling apart." I stayed silent, waiting. She continued, her voice hoarse. "My father won't talk to me. My brother blames me for everything. My mother is being questioned daily by the police. Reporters are calling our house. Our business partners are pulling out of deals." I smirked. "That's rough." She sucked in a breath. "Matthew, I lost everything." There it was. The realization. I let the silence stretch, let her feel the weight of her own words. Finally, I spoke. "No, Rachel. You threw everything away. A soft sob came through the line. I don't know how it got this bad. I tilted my head, my voice cold. You don't? She sniffled. I made a mistake. I sighed. No, Rachel. You made a series of choices. You chose to betray me. You chose to listen to your mother. You chose to replace me at our wedding. And now, you're realizing what that means. She let out a shaky breath. I miss you, Matthew. I laughed. A deep, bitter laugh that made her suck in a breath. Miss me? I repeated. You mean you miss my money? You miss the stability. You miss knowing that, no matter what, I'd always be there to fix your messes. That's not true, she snapped. Isn't it? I asked calmly, because if I were still the old Matthew, you'd be trying to convince me to help you right now. But you know I won't, and that terrifies you. She didn't respond. Good, I said, my voice like ice. Sit in that fear. Get comfortable with it. Because this is your new reality, Rachel, and I'm not part of it. She whimpered. I don't want to be alone. I smirked. You should have thought about that before you threw me away. And with that, I hung up. The news about Rachel's family only got worse. Their family business was in trouble. Investors were distancing themselves, not wanting to be associated with a fraud scandal. Even Rachel's father, who had tried to play innocent, was getting dragged into the mess. And Rachel? She was officially ruined. Her friends had abandoned her. The guests from the wedding had spread the full story of what she had done, and no one wanted to be associated with her anymore. Her own family blamed her for the disaster, claiming that if she had just married me, none of this would have happened. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. A week later, my lawyer called me again. Matthew, we have a settlement offer. I raised an eyebrow. From who? Rachel's mother. I let out a low whistle. How desperate is she? Very. My lawyer sounded amused. They want to offer you a financial settlement if you agree to drop the charges. I smirked. How much? 50,000. I almost laughed. She stole 20,000 from me and now wants to pay 50 just to make this go away? It's more than just the money. My lawyer's voice turned serious. The investigation is digging up more dirt on her. If this goes to court, she could be facing real prison time. This is her way of trying to get ahead of it. I tapped my fingers against my desk, considering. If I took the money, this could all be over. But then again, why would I do her any favors? Tell them I'll think about it, I said. But in my heart, I already knew my answer. Rachel and her family had tried to destroy me, and I wasn't done watching them fall. I let Rachel's mother sweat. She thought she could buy her way out of this mess, that I'd take her hush money and walk away quietly. But that's the problem with people like her. They always assume money fixes everything. It didn't. Not this time. I ignored the settlement offer. Didn't even acknowledge it. Let them wonder. Let them panic. And while they were waiting for my response, I made my next move. I had proof. Bank statements, fraudulent transactions, stolen funds, all tied directly to Rachel's mother. She had used my money like it was her personal piggy bank, funding a lifestyle she never actually earned. Now, it was time for everyone to know. The first thing I did? I sent everything to the police. They already had an open investigation, but now they had even more documents, emails, concrete proof that she had been dipping into accounts that didn't belong to her. This wasn't just fraud anymore. It was theft on a massive scale. Next, I leaked everything online. It started with a simple post. Imagine getting thrown out of your own wedding, only to find out your future in-laws stole your money too. Wild, right? Here's the proof. Attached? Screenshots, bank statements, receipts. It didn't take long before the post exploded. People who had attended the wedding chimed in, confirming what happened. I was there. The groom was literally told to leave or watch from the audience, while another guy took his place. They took all his money and expected him to just disappear. Unreal. Wait, so she knew her mom was stealing from him this whole time? And she just let it happen? The story went viral. Rachel's family had always been obsessed with their public image, but now that image was completely shattered. People dug up old skeletons, pulling out previous lawsuits, shady business dealings, even old complaints from employees who had worked for Rachel's father. Her father's business lost multiple clients overnight. Her mother's name was dragged through the mud, with local news outlets picking up the fraud case. And Rachel? She became a joke. The texts started pouring in. First, from Rachel. What the hell did you do? Ignored. Then, from her brother. The same alpha that was supposed to replace me. Bro, this is getting out of control. You need to take the post down. I laughed. He thought he still had the right to tell me what to do? Ignored. Then, finally, Rachel's father. His message was longer, more careful. Matthew, I know things got out of hand, but this has gone too far. I understand you're angry, but this is damaging our family's reputation. If we can sit down and talk, maybe we can work something out. So now, when it's his family's reputation on the line, he suddenly wants to be reasonable? I replied with one sentence. You should have thought about that before your wife stole from me. No response. The next morning, my lawyer called again. Matthew, they upped their offer. $75,000. I smirked. Oh, they getting nervous? Very, she confirmed. Between the fraud case and the public fallout, they're desperate to make this disappear. I leaned back, considering it. 75 grand was more than what they stole from me. I could take the money, close the chapter, and move on richer than before. But then, I asked myself, would they have ever done the same for me? Would they have given me a way out if the roles were reversed? No. Rachel's family had never cared about anyone but themselves. They would have bled me dry, taken everything, and left me in the dirt without a second thought. So, I made my decision. Decline the offer, I said. My lawyer hesitated. Are you sure? We could negotiate for more. I'm not here to negotiate, I said firmly. I'm here to watch them fall. She exhaled, then chuckled. You're ruthless. I smiled. I'm just getting started. The next day, the police officially pressed charges against Rachel's mother. She was looking at prison time. Rachel's father tried to distance himself from the scandal, but the damage was done. Investors pulled out, deals collapsed. His company took a massive financial hit. Rachel? She had nowhere to go. Her friends abandoned her. No one wanted to be associated with someone whose entire life was publicly exposed as a scam. Her family turned against each other. And me? I had one. I had taken everything back, my dignity, my money, my life. And they had lost everything. The fallout from my post and the fraud investigation was relentless. Every day, new headlines, new rumors, and new consequences surfaced for Rachel and her family. What had once been a well-respected family in their social circles was now a public scandal, and no amount of damage control could stop it. Rachel had gone silent after our last conversation, but I knew she was watching everything crumble. I wasn't done yet. One night, as I was sitting in my living room, enjoying a drink, my phone buzzed. Rachel. I stared at her name on the screen, debating whether to answer. She had nothing left. I knew why she was calling. She had reached her breaking point. I let it ring twice before picking up. Her voice was small, weak. Matthew, please don't hang up. I took a slow sip of my drink. Why would I hang up? I want to hear what you have to say. A shaky breath. I lost everything. I exhaled through my nose. No, Rachel. You threw everything away. Silence. Then, her voice broke. I don't know what to do. My father barely looks at me. My mom is being dragged through hell. I can't even leave the house without someone recognizing me. People whisper about me everywhere I go. That must be awful, I said flatly. She sniffled. I deserve it, don't I? I swirled my drink, watching the ice clink against the glass. Do you really want me to answer that? A pause. Then, softly, I was wrong. I raised an eyebrow. About what? Her voice was thicker with emotion now. Everything. The way I treated you. The way I let my family treat you. I thought I was making the right choice. I thought my mom knew best. But she only cared about herself. And now, she's ruined everything. I let the words settle between us. Then, I asked the one question that had been on my mind since the beginning. Rachel, when your mother told me to leave my own wedding, did you even consider stopping her? Silence. A beat. Then another. Then, she started crying. And that told me everything I needed to know. I let out a small chuckle. I already knew the answer. I just wanted to hear you say it. She sounded broken. I thought you'd be fine. I thought you'd move on. I didn't think it would get this bad. I smiled coldly. You thought I'd disappear. That I'd just let you and your family take everything from me. Replace me, humiliate me. You didn't think there'd be consequences. I know. I let out a slow breath. And now you're here, begging me to stop? I don't want to be alone, Matthew. I smirked. You should have thought about that before you let them push me out. She let out a shaky sob. I was selfish. I was stupid. I didn't see what I had until it was gone. I took another sip of my drink, feeling nothing but satisfaction. And what exactly do you want from me, Rachel? An apology? Forgiveness? A second chance? She didn't answer, because we both knew what she wanted, and we both knew she wasn't going to get it. I don't hate you, Rachel, I said finally. I just don't care anymore. A small gasp, like she had been stabbed in the heart. Goodbye, Rachel. And then, I hung up. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. Over the next few weeks, her life continued to fall apart. Her mother was officially indicted for fraud. The case was moving forward, and she was facing jail time. Her father's business collapsed. With so much bad press, their clients had all but abandoned them. And Rachel? She was truly alone. No money, no family support, no future. She had played her hand, and she had lost. One day, I got another message. It was from her brother, the same guy who was supposed to replace me at the wedding. I should have seen it sooner. My family only cares about themselves. I was just a pawn, too. I'm sorry for everything, man. You were right. I didn't reply. He wasn't worth my time. None of them were. Weeks had passed since I last heard from Rachel, but her downfall hadn't stopped. It had only gotten worse. Her mother was now officially facing trial. The fraud case had escalated, and news outlets were all over it. Every detail about the stolen funds, the illegal transactions, and her past shady dealings was being exposed to the public. Her father? Drowning in debt. The bad publicity surrounding the case had ruined his reputation, and his business was bleeding money. Investors had cut ties. Former clients had backed out of deals. He had no way to recover. And Rachel? She was nowhere to be found. Rumors swirled that she had moved in with a distant relative, trying to escape the humiliation. Her social media accounts were wiped clean. Her once lavish lifestyle completely gone. She had lost everything, and I had never felt more at peace. One evening, I was sitting in my apartment, watching the city lights from my balcony, when my phone buzzed. I glanced down. A text message. From Rachel. I sighed, debating whether to open it. But curiosity won. I clicked the message, and my smirk grew wider as I read it. I don't expect you to reply. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I had to say it. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I stared at the message for a moment. Then, I deleted it. No response. No acknowledgement. Nothing, because I had already won. Later that week, I received another message. This time, from Rachel's alpha brother. The same man who was supposed to replace me. I don't know if you'll even read this, but I just want to say, you were right about everything. My family used me just like they used you. They never cared about anyone but themselves. I thought I was better than you, but the truth is, I was just another pawn. I see that now. I'm sorry, man. I hope you find real happiness. I stared at my screen for a moment, then chuckled. What a joke. The same man who had stood there on my wedding day, ready to take my place, was now groveling. Pathetic. I didn't reply. He wasn't worth it. The final nail in the coffin came when the news broke that Rachel's mother had officially lost her trial. Guilty. She was sentenced to prison. Rachel's family was ruined beyond repair. No more wealth. No more power. No more influence. They were nothing now. And I was free. One night, I was walking through the city when I passed by the same venue where my wedding was supposed to take place. A different wedding was happening there. A happy couple, surrounded by real friends and family who actually cared about them. I watched for a moment, then smiled. That could have been me, but it wasn't. And thank God for that. Because Rachel thought she had taken everything from me. But in the end, I was the one who truly won. I woke up the next morning with an unfamiliar feeling. Peace. No more stress. No more anger. No more unfinished business. Everything that needed to happen had already played out. Rachel was gone. Her family was in ruins. Justice had been served, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could finally breathe. I stepped out onto my balcony, sipping my coffee as the city came to life below me. The weight of everything, the betrayal, the humiliation, the rage, was no longer there. It had been replaced by something lighter, something better. I had won, not just against Rachel, against the version of myself who would have once let this destroy him. And that was the best victory of all. Later that day, I received one last message. From Rachel. I sighed, debating whether to open it, but curiosity won. I clicked the message, and this time, it was shorter. I saw you last night. You looked happy. I guess that means you're really over me. I don't know what I expected, but it hurts more than I thought it would. I wish I could take everything back. I really do, but I know I can't. I just hope you find the happiness that I was too blind to give you. I read it once, then twice. Then, I did the same thing I had done with her previous messages. Deleted it. No response. No acknowledgement. Nothing. She was my past, and I wasn't looking back anymore. That evening, I went out to a bar with a few friends, something I hadn't done in far too long. For the first time in months, my mind wasn't on Rachel, her family, or their downfall. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I wasn't thinking about what had been taken from me. I was just living. And then, something unexpected happened. A woman approached our table, kind eyes, an easy smile, an energy that was nothing like Rachel's. She looked at me, a hint of curiosity in her expression. Mind if I sit here? I hesitated for half a second. Then, I smiled. Go ahead. And just like that, my new life began. Because Rachel thought she had ruined me. But in the end, she had set me free.